Hi, this is Brendan from Watto Training, and in this tutorial we take a look at the staff training module for assessing a heavy vehicle driver, and these are guidelines for assessors. What is involved in assessing a heavy vehicle driver? The assessment involves the high-level safe driving skills and knowledge required by drivers to enable them to apply safe driving behaviours, including higher order skills such as hazard perception, risk control and safe driving judgment, decision-making and multitasking. How is a driver assessed? They're assessed through theory and practical, which is on-road. There also may be some oral questions that get asked along the way as well. What does assessment involve? Assessment is the process of identifying, gathering and interpreting information about a driver's knowledge and skill in performing their job role. What is the purpose of assessment? The central purpose of assessment is to provide information on driver achievement and progress and to set the direction for ongoing training and support. What should an assessor be looking for during an assessment? The assessor is expected to look at how well the driver operates and guides the vehicle, puts the road rules into practice, fits in with other traffic, and sees and responds to hazards. Examples of heavy vehicles that may be involved in assessment: rigid truck, semi-trailer trucks, mainly used in urban areas because of their smaller size, road trains. These are longer vehicles which vary in size. For example, double road train, triple road train, quad road train, buses, grain transporters, livestock transporters, tanker trucks, cement trucks, and oversized vehicles. Remember when assessing to apply the principles of assessment. Fairness. The individual learner's needs are considered in the assessment process. Where appropriate, reasonable adjustments are applied by the assessor to take into account the individual learner's needs. Reasonable adjustment refers to a measure or action taken by an education provider to enable learners with specific learning needs to participate in education and training on the same basis as learners without specific learning needs. Flexibility. Assessment is flexible to the individual learner by reflecting the learner's needs, assessing competencies held by the learner no matter how or where they have been acquired, and drawing from a range of assessment methods and using those that are appropriate to the context, the unit of competency, and associated assessment requirements and the individual. Validity. Validity requires assessment against the units of competency, and the associated assessment requirements covers the broad range of skills and knowledge that are essential to competent performance. Assessment of knowledge and skills is integrated with their practical application. Assessment to be based on evidence that demonstrates that a learner could demonstrate these skills and knowledge in other similar situations. Judgment of competence is based on evidence of learner performance that is aligned to the unit or units of competency and is associated assessment requirements. Reliability. Evidence presented for assessment is consistently interpreted, and assessment results are comparable irrespective of the assessor conducting the assessment. So that means if Assessor A went and assessed a person and got a certain outcome, and Assessor B went and assessed a person and got a certain outcome, they really should be the same irrespective of the assessor. Remember the rules of evidence. Validity. The assessor must be assured that the learner has the skills, knowledge, and attributes as described in the module or unit of competency and associated assessment requirements. Sufficiency, meaning do we have enough evidence? The assessor must be assured that the quality, quantity, and relevance of the assessment evidence enables a judgment to be made of the learner's competency. Authenticity. The assessor must be assured that the evidence presented for assessment is the learner's own work. Currency. The assessor must be assured that the assessment evidence demonstrates current competency. This requires the assessment evidence to be from the present or very recent past. How will the practical assessment run? The assessor should give the candidate instructions before they start the assessment on how the assessment will run. The candidate is encouraged to listen carefully to the instructions and ask questions about anything that they don't understand. How would the practical assessment run? The driving assessor will give the candidate tasks to perform during the assessment. The candidate must complete these tasks when conditions are safe and in accordance with the road rules. The driving assessor will not ask the candidate to do anything illegal or unsafe. The assessor will not try to trick the candidate, e.g. direct them up a one-way road. How directions will be given. Some simple examples of directions are as follows. At the first street, turn left or turn right, please. At the end of the road, turn left or turn right, please. Please take the second street on the left/right. At the third set of traffic lights along this road, please turn right/left. The candidate may need to make lane changes in order to follow the assessor's directions. Mobile phones. Candidates should turn their mobile phones off before the assessment begins. After the practical driving assessment, the assessor should discuss the results of the assessment with the candidate to give them feedback on how they performed. The assessment is competency-based. The outcome will either be competent or not yet competent. A little bit more on competency-based assessment. The purpose of competency-based assessment is to confirm that an individual can perform tasks to the expected standard in the workplace as expressed in the relevant competency standards. What will I be assessed on? That would include pre-drive checks, operational skills, hazard recognition and decision-making skills, and maneuvers. Risks for road transport workers. The assessor must have these considerations in mind and manage them accordingly in their job role. So the first one is transport workers have a lot of time pressures. Tight deadlines within the transport industry can make drivers feel pressured to speed and skip breaks. Shift work, fatigue, and physical fitness. Shift work is common in the road transport industry, and working irregular hours can cause fatigue and have adverse effects on health and safety. Transport work, especially driving, offers workers only brief periods of physical activity, for example, when they are loading and unloading. This means workers are at higher risk of being overweight or obese, are less active, and sit for long periods. Poor vehicle design. Transport workers' workplace is their vehicle, and so the design of the seat and vehicle controls, as well as the duration and frequency they drive, will affect their risk of discomfort to their body. Poor vehicle design and driving over rough roads can increase exposure to vibration, which increases risks for disorders to the body and internal organs. Manual handling of heavy weights. Loading and unloading vehicles often involves lifting heavy weights. Working at heights. Drivers of trucks regularly climb onto and off their vehicle, and falls are a cause of serious incidents. If the worker is required to access the load from the top of the vehicle, appropriate fall protection needs to be in place. Gases and fume exposure. Workers in the transport industry are more likely to report being exposed to airborne hazards such as gases and fumes than workers in other industries. Also be wary about moving around the vehicle. We can see here the driver moving around the vehicle. Be wary of turning your back on the traffic. 3 points of contact. Heavy vehicle drivers need to use 3 points of contact when getting in and out vehicles. We can see the driver on the right is getting out in the incorrect manner. They are facing the road and could trip or get their foot caught and go face first onto the road. Pre-drive safety checks. Before beginning the assessment, the assessor should direct the candidate to perform a pre-drive safety check. The candidate is required to identify and operate the following vehicle controls: headlights, high and low beam, hazard lights, windscreen washers and wipers, turn indicators, brake lights, and horn. The candidate is required to identify the handbrake, and the candidate is identified to identify but not operate the following: windscreen demister, rear window demister where fitted. The candidate is required to start the engine. The candidate must also, if relevant, identify where the safety triangles are. Car and heavy vehicle crash statistics show that an estimated 40 unbelted heavy vehicle drivers lose their life in Australia every year. Seatbelts would have prevented or reduced the injuries suffered by truck drivers in at least 60% of crashes studied. If heavy vehicle seatbelt wearing rates matched the rate achieved by car drivers, it would reduce unbelted truck driver deaths by about half. Heavy vehicle driving skills to assess. The first one, situational awareness. The driver must maintain a continuous lookout ahead of the vehicle except when making brief checks in the mirrors and other directions. When driving straight, check the mirrors often enough to maintain awareness of surrounding traffic. The required frequency varies with traffic conditions. Steering control and operation. The performance outcome we're looking for here is for the applicant to steer a safe and steady course and maintain the correct course in a manner that is appropriate for the road and traffic conditions. The performance outcome of steering operation, the applicant should operate the steering wheel in an appropriate manner that is hand over hand or the pull-push method. Clutch for manual drivers. The performance outcome we're looking for here is the driver is expected to control the clutch in a manner that produces a smooth take-up of power to the driving wheels and assists the changing of gears. Accelerator. The performance outcome is that the driver is expected to operate the accelerator pedal smoothly and progressively for both acceleration and deceleration. Road positioning. The vehicle should be in the correct road position appropriate to the road or traffic situation. Application of the system of vehicle control. The driver should follow the correct procedure, that being, number 1, choose your course through the hazard. 2, check your mirror and signal if changing direction. 3, brake to adjust speed if required. 4, decision point, is it safe to continue? 5, when safe, check your mirror and blind spot if required. And 6, take evasive action if required, usually as a result of a mistake in previous actions. Well, in this case, the situation is a T section and the bus driver is giving way to the road at the terminating the T section and taking a standard right turn. Observation skills. When required to give way to other traffic, such as when facing a give way sign, turning across oncoming traffic or entering a roundabout, looks in the directions from which conflicting traffic might approach before proceeding. When diverging, including when entering or crossing a bicycle lane in preparation for a left turn, check the right or left external mirror immediately before signaling according to the direction of movement. When turning, looks in the planned direction of travel, that is, in the direction of turn, before making the turn. Hazard identification. What does hazard identification assess? Hazard identification assesses the driver's ability to identify hazards on their left, right, ahead, behind, and oncoming whilst maintaining safe and legal driving behaviours. Now, hazard and risk aren't the same thing. A hazard is anything that can cause harm, whereas a risk is how great the chance that someone will be harmed by the hazard. Okay, hazards include pedestrians, other motor vehicles, other road users, and the environment, such as traffic lights. Judgment, which is safe gap selection. The driver is expected to select the first available safe gap in traffic after an initial period of observing approaching traffic to identify a gap. Reject any unsafe gaps. Signaling. When turning left or right, do not activate the turn indicator so early as to possibly mislead other road users about which street the candidate intends to turn into. Maintain the turn signal until the turn or diverge has been completed. Cancel the indicator if necessary when the turn or diverge has been completed. Tips for gears. Enter and drive around corners in a gear that helps you, that is the driver being assessed, control the vehicle. Do not have the clutch in unless you are driving so slowly the engine could stall. Keep your foot off the clutch unless you are changing gear or using it to prevent the vehicle from stalling. Use the correct gear. You should not be straining or over-revving the engine. Change gears before or after you steer. Do not change at the same time as steering is being applied into or out of a corner. Do not let the clutch slip for a long time or crunch or grind the gears. Braking. The applicant should use the brakes in a manner that is appropriate for the situation. In general, they should slow the vehicle smoothly and progressively. The handbrake/park brake should be used only when the vehicle is stationary. Speeding. Speeding is defined as driving or riding over the posted speed limit or at a speed that is inappropriate given the traffic conditions. For example, rain, fog, traffic volume, or traffic flow. Speeding is one of the major killers on Queensland roads. Driving to conditions. The driver is expected to progress with the general flow of traffic at a speed that is not excessive for the situation and without exceeding the speed limit. Acceleration should be smooth, progressive, and appropriate for the traffic conditions. Rain, wind, glare, gravel, and night driving all pose their own unexpected threats. The driver is expected to slow down, drive within their comfort zone, and observe advisory signs on the road. Left turns. The applicant should negotiate a variety of left turn situations, including lane and unlaned roads, roundabouts, traffic lights, stop signs, give-way signs, and uncontrolled crossroads. Do not overtake turning vehicle. Heavy vehicles that have a do not overtake turning vehicle sign are allowed to take up to more than one lane to turn at corners, intersections, and roundabouts. Right turn position. The driver will be required to negotiate a variety of right turn situations, including marked and unmarked roads, roundabouts, traffic lights, stop signs, give-way signs, road-related areas. Uncontrolled crossroads. The applicant should select and maintain an appropriate position on the approach during and immediately after the turn. Hazard recognition and decision-making skills to be assessed. Obey all signs, signals, and road markings. School zones and roadworks areas. Roundabouts. It is important to be in the correct lane at multi-lane roundabouts. Signs, lane markings, and arrows help the driver position their vehicle correctly and guide them in the direction that they are required to go. Unless traffic lane arrows indicate otherwise, remember these rules. To turn left, use the left lane. To turn right, use the right lane. To go straight ahead, use either lane. Think of a roundabout like a clock face. Turning left. The steps that we are looking for are as follows. 1. Position your vehicle in the left lane unless arrows on the road or signs indicate otherwise. 2. Use your left indicator when you enter the roundabout. 3. Give way to all vehicles already on the roundabout. 4. Remain in the left lane as you complete your turn. 5. Continue to use your left indicator as you exit the roundabout. 6. Stop indicating once you have exited the roundabout. Turning right or making a U-turn. 1. Position your vehicle in the right lane unless arrows on the road or signs indicate otherwise. 2. Use your right indicator when you enter the roundabout. 3. Give way to all vehicles already on the roundabout. 4. Before exiting, use your left indicator and follow the exit lane marking. 5. Stop indicating as soon as you have left the roundabout. Note, do not turn right from the left lane unless arrows on the road indicate otherwise. Going straight ahead. 1. Position your vehicle in either lane unless the arrows on the road or signs indicate otherwise. 2. Do not use your indicator until ready to exit. 3. Give way to all vehicles already on the roundabout. 4. Before exiting, use your left indicator and follow the exit lane marking. 5. Stop indicating once you have exited the roundabout. Who gives way at a roundabout? A vehicle approaching a roundabout must give way to all vehicles already on the roundabout. In some cases, on a multi-lane roundabout, it may be necessary to change lanes before exiting. In this situation, it is the responsibility of the driver changing lanes to give way to vehicles in the lane the driver is moving into. Giving way to buses. In a built-up area where the speed limit is 70 kilometers or less, motorists must give way to a bus that displays a give-way sign on its rear right-hand side and is signaling to enter traffic from a bus zone, bus stop, or bus stop bay, the shoulder of the road or the left side of the road. All vehicles, including buses, must indicate for 5 seconds before moving off from a parked position. Safety margins. The driver is expected to ensure there is an appropriate buffer zone in front of and to the sides of the vehicle and that it is in the correct position when stopped in a line of traffic. Long vehicles measuring 7.5 meters or longer must keep a minimum distance of 60 meters behind another long vehicle unless driving on a multi-lane road, driving in a built-up area, overtaking, driving in a road train area where the minimum distance is 200 meters. Maneuvers to be assessed: left/right reverse for LR, MR, and HR. This is the left-hand reverse around a corner. The driver is required to reverse the vehicle around a corner as if reversing into a loading bay. The maneuver can be conducted in the left or right-hand direction. There's our right-hand direction from the far side of the road across into the T. The maneuver should be commenced from a position parallel to and within 2 meters from the left road edge or curb. At the completion of the exercise, the vehicle should be parallel to and within 2 meters of the edge or curb. The applicant should be given 2 attempts to successfully reverse the vehicle around the corner. In each attempt, 2 reverse movements and 1 forward movement is allowed. The forward movement for left and right reverse can be as far as the edge or curb. In each attempt, 2 reverse movements and 1 forward movement is allowed. This may occur, for example, when finishing too far from the curb. The forward movement for left and right reverse can be as far as the edge or curb. This example is the applicant is finishing too close to the curb, so they've decided to stop, go forward, and then come back again. This exercise should be predominantly using the mirrors when observing to the rear. An occasional glance over the shoulder is allowed. Reversing requirements for HC and MC applicants. Reverse the vehicle in a straight line over a distance of 40 to 50 meters. The maneuver should be commenced from a position parallel to and within 2 meters from the left edge of the or curb. At the completion of the exercise, the vehicle should be parallel to and within 2 meters of the edge or curb. The applicant should be given 2 attempts to successfully reverse the vehicle. In each attempt, 1 correction is allowed. This exercise should be undertaken predominantly using the mirrors when observing to the rear. An occasional glance over the shoulder is allowed. For dog-trailer combinations, the applicant should be given the option to reverse with or without the trailer steerable axle locked. The assessor should say, "I'd like you to undertake a reversing exercise. Could you please stop the vehicle within 2 meters of the curb along this road?" Assessor points out the position. "Thank you. Now reverse the vehicle in a straight line for approximately 40 to 50 meters, ensuring that the vehicle remains within 2 meters in parallel with the left curb. Please do this maneuver predominantly using your mirrors." Note, occasional glances over the shoulder are allowed during the maneuver. Here's a diagram of the straight line reverse for HC, and here's a diagram of the straight line reverse for MC. Gear changing requirements for HR, HC, and MC. With the vehicle in motion traveling along a road with a level surface or slight incline, change down the gears to a lower gear, excluding crawler gears. The highest gear in the lower range is sufficient where the gearbox has a dual range. On vehicles fitted with 5 or 6-speed gearbox with constant mesh in first gear and synchro the remainder, applicants are only required to change down to second gear with the vehicle in motion. If the gearbox has a facility for splitting gears, the applicant may be asked to split gears while changing up during this exercise. If the automatic gearbox has the facility for downshifting, the applicant will be asked to downshift to a lower gear. Note, it is unnecessary to ask the applicant to undertake the gear changing exercise if the above requirements have been demonstrated by the applicant during the course of the test. Gear changing classes HR, HC, and MC. For vehicles without a range change facility, the assessor should say, Along this section of road, I would like you to change down to the lower gears while keeping the vehicle moving, please. Thank you. Please now resume normal driving according to road and traffic conditions. Note, for vehicles with constant mesh only in first gear, the assessor should direct the applicant to change down to second gear only. For vehicles with a range change facility, the assessor should say, along this section of road, I'd like you to change down through the gears to the low range. Thank you. Please now resume normal driving according to road and traffic conditions. Note, assessors may need to clarify that there is no requirement to change down to crawler gears. Hill start requirements. Move off smoothly from a stationary position and travel up a moderate incline without rolling back. Note, in Class HC vehicles, not moving from a parked position, the trailer brake should be used to secure the vehicle when waiting to move off on a hill. This is to avoid activating the spring brakes. The assessor should say, I'd like you to do a hill start ahead, please. Would you please stop parallel to the curb, indicate a location? Thank you. Please drive off when you're ready. HCMC uncouple recouple. An applicant for a Class HCMC is required to uncouple the trailer/trailers, drive forward approximately 10 meters, then reverse back onto the trailer to recouple, ready to drive off. The applicant should be able to uncouple and recouple the trailer, having regard for all safe practices in the correct sequence. The assessor should say, I'd like you to undertake the uncouple-recouple exercise. Please uncouple the trailer and drive forward about 10 meters. After that, could you reverse the vehicle/prime mover to recouple as if you were coupling to take a different trailer? Thank you. As we move off, would you please apply the trailer brake to test its application/function? Critical driving errors. Here are some examples of critical driving errors. So here we're talking about an error that compromises the safety of any road user or indicates an inappropriate level of skill or ability. The assessor is required to intervene either verbally, e.g. yell stop, or physically, grabbing the steering wheel. A candidate's vehicle strikes another object, for example, curb, sign, power pole. A dangerous situation is created by the candidate's driving, which results in another road user being forced to take evasive action to prevent a collision or any other danger. A candidate disobeys direction from a police officer, school crossing supervisor, and/or authorized traffic controller. The assessor will not proceed with an assessment if, in the judgment of the driving assessor, the applicant is not mentally or physically fit for the assessment. The candidate's vehicle breaks down during the assessment. In the judgment of the assessor, something that would not normally be present during the assessment adversely affects the authenticity, fairness, reliability, or validity of the assessment. Thanks for watching. This has been Brendan from Watto Training.